Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I am reading Little Women. I actually have never read this book. I don't know if there's going to be some languages that I don't know how to read, like words. I don't know, because sometimes I could pronounce words incorrectly. But this book is really weird. Like, it's upside down. It's just weird. But anyways, I am gonna just start reading. This is going to be the picture. And if I have any other pictures, I will show it. So I will be starting to read. I don't even know what this book is about. So, yeah. Chapter 1, Playing Pilgrims. Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents, grumbled Joe, lying on the rug. It's so dreadful to be poor, sighed Meg. I don't think it's fair for some girls to have pretty things and other girls nothing at all, added little Amy with a injured sniff. We got father and mother and each other anyhow, said Beth, contentedly from her corner. The four young faces on which the firelight shone brightened at the cheerful words, but darkened again as Joe said sadly, "We haven't got father and shall not have him for a long time." She didn't say anything, perhaps never, but each slightly added, "Thinking of father away where the fighting was." Nobody spoke for a minute. Then Meg said it was an um, altered tone. "You know the reason mother purposed not having any presents this Christmas was because it's going to be a hard winter for everyone. And she thinks we ought not to spend money for pleasure when our men are suffering. So in army, we can't do much, but we can make our little sacrifices." And Meg thought regretfully of all the pretty things she wanted. "I don't think the little we should spend would do any good. We've each got $1, and the army wouldn't be much help by our giving that. I agree not to expect anything from mother or you, but I do want to buy Undine and Centrum for myself," said Joe, who was a bookworm. "I plan to spend mine in new music," said Beth with a little sigh. "I shall get a new box of drawing pencils. I really need them," said Amy decidedly. "Mother won't wish us to give up everything. Let each buy what we want and have a little fun. We work hard to earn it," cried Joe. "I know I do. Teaching those dreadful children nearly all day when I'm longing to enjoy myself at home," began Meg. "You don't have half such a hard time as I do," said Joe. "How would you like to be shut up for hours with a nervous, fussy old lady who keeps trouting? It's naughty to fret, but I do think washing dishes and keeping things tidy is the worst work in the world. My head gets so stiff I can't practice good a bit." And Beth looked at her rough hands with a sigh. "I don't believe any of you suffer as I do," cried Amy, "for you don't have to go to school with imperious girls who laugh at your dresses and label your father if he isn't rich. If you mean libel, I'd say so. And don't talk about labels. As if Pa was a pickle bottle," advised Joe. "I know what I mean. You needed to be satirical about it. It's proper to use good words and improve your vocabulary," returned Amy with dignity. "Don't peck at one another, children. Don't you wish we had money, Papa? Lost when we were little, Joe? Dear me, how happy and good we'd be if we had no worries," said Meg. "You said the other day you thought we were a deal happier. than the king children, for they were fighting and feeding all the time in spite of their money. So I did, Beth. Well, I guess we are. For though we do have to work, we must make, oh my god, we make fun of for ourselves and are pretty jolly set, as Joe would say. Joe does use such slang words, observed Amy with a reproving look of long figure stretched on the rug. Joe sat up, put her hands on her apron pockets, and began to whistle. Don't, Joe, it's a boyish. That's why I do it. I detest rude, unladylike girls. I hate affected, nimity-pitty chits. Birds in their little nests agree, sang Beth, the peaceful matter. Really, girls, are you both to be blamed? Said Meg. You are old enough to leave off boyish tricks and behave better, Josephine. Now, are you so tall and turn your hair up? You should remember that you are a young lady and I'm not. And if turning up my hair makes me one, I'll wear it in two tails till I'm 20, cried Joe, pulling off her net and shaking down the chestnut mane. I hate to think I've got to grow up and be Miss March and wear long gowns and look at the prime as China Chester. I can't get over every oh my god. I can't get over my disappointment and not being a boy, and it's worse than ever now. For I'm dying to go and fight with Papa, and I can only stay at home and knit like a poky old woman. And Joe shook the blue army sock till the needle rattled like castanets. As for you, Amy, continued Meg, you are altogether too particular and prime. Your airs are funny now, but you'll grow up and affected like goose if you don't take care. If Joe's a tomboy and Amy's a goose, what am I, please? Asked Beth. You are a dear and nothing else, answered Meg warmly, and no one uh contradicted her. Oh my gosh, I can't say that. Her, for the mouse was the pet of the family. Margaret, the eldest of the four, was 16 and very pretty. Being plump and fair, with large eyes, plenty of soft brown hair, and sweet mouth of white hands, of which she was rather vain, 15-year-old Joe was very tall, thin, and brown, and reminded one of the colt, for she never seemed to know what to do with her long limbs. She had to decide mouth of commensal nose and sharp gray eyes. Her long, thick hair was her one battery, but it was usually bundled into a net to be out of her way. Round shoulders had Joe. Big hands and feet and flyaway look to her clothes, and the uncomfortable appearance of a girl who was rapidly shooting up into a woman and didn't like it. Elizabeth, or Beth, was everyone called her, was a rosy, smooth haired, brightened eyed girl of 13, with a shy matter of timed voice and a peaceful expression which was a seldom disturbed. Um, she seemed to live in a happy world of her own, only venturing out to meet a few whom she trusted and loved. Amy, though the youngest, was the most important person. In her own opinion, a regular snow maiden with blue eyes and yellow hair curling in her shoulders, pale and slender, and always carrying herself like a young lady, mindful of her manners. The clock struck 6, and Beth put her pair of slippers down to warm. Somehow the sight of the old shoes had a good effect upon the girls. For mother was coming, Meg stopped lecturing and lit the lamp. Amy got out of the easier chair without being asked, and Joe forgot how tired she was as she sat up to hold the slippers near to the blaze. They are quite worn out, Mary. Must have a new pair. I thought I'd get her some of my dollar, said Beth. No, I shall, cried Amy. I'm the oldest, began Meg, but Joe cut in with a decided. I'm a man of the family now. Papa is away, and I shall provide the slippers. I'll tell you what we'll do, said Beth. Let each get her something for Christmas and not get anything for ourselves. That's like you, dear. We What will we get? Exclaimed Joe. Everyone thought soberly for a minute. Then Meg announced, I shall give her a nice pair of gloves. Army shoes best to be had, cried Joe. Some handkerchiefs and hemed, said Beth. I'll get a little bottle of cologne. It won't cost much, so I have some left to buy something for me, added Amy. Let Mary think we are getting things for ourselves and then surprise her. We must go shopping tomorrow afternoon. Meg, there are a lot to do about the play for Christmas night, said Joe. I don't mean to act any more after this time. I'm getting too old for such things, observed Meg. You won't stop. I know as long as you can trail round in the white gown and your hair down and wear gold paper jewelry, said Joe. We ought to rehearse tonight. Come here, Amy, and do a faintly scene for you, and as stiff as a poker. Glad to find you so merry, my girls, said the cheery voice at the door. The actor of the audience turned to welcome a stout, motherly lady with, Can I help you? Look about her. Well, dears, how have you got on today? Has anyone called, Beth? How is your cold, Meg? Joe, you look tired to death. Come and kiss me, baby. While making these maternal inquiries, Miss March got her wet things off, her hot slippers on, and sitting down in her easy chair, drew Amy to her lap. The girls flew about trying to make things comfortable. Meg arranged the tea table. Joe brought wooden, dropping, overturning the clattering everything she touched. Beth trotted to a fro between parlor and kitchen, quiet and busy, while Amy gave directions as she sat with her hands folded. As they gathered about the table, Miss March said with a happy face, I've got to treat you for the supper. A bright smile went round in the streaked sunshine. Beth clamped her hands regardless of her hot biscuit she held, and Joe tossed up her napkin carrying a letter. 3 cheers for father. Yes, a nice long letter. He sent all sorts of lovely wishes for Christmas and a special message for you girls, said Miss March. I think it is so spindled and father to go to the Champlain when he was too old to drafted and not strong enough to for a soldier, said Meg. I wish I could go to the drummer or a nurse, explained Joe with a groan. When will he come home, Marmee? Asked Peg with a little quiver in her voice. Not for many months, dear, unless he is sick. They all drew to the fire, mother in the big chair with Beth at her feet, Meg and Amy perched on either arm of the chair, and Joe leaning on the back. It was cheerful letter, fully lively description of camp life, marches and military news, and only at the end of the writer's heart overflow with fatherly love and longing for little girls at the home. Sorry, guys. Give them all my dear love and kiss. Remind them that while we wait, we may all work so that these hard days need not be wasted. I know we will be loving children to you. Fight their blossom enemies bravely and conquer themselves so beautifully that when I come back to them, I may be prouder than ever for my little women. Everybody sniffed when they came to that part. Joe wasn't ashamed to a great teardrop ended on her nose, and Amy never minded rumbling in her curls as she hid her face on her mother's shoulder and sobbed out. Am I a selfish pig? But I'll truly try to be better. We all will, cried Meg. I think too much of my looks. I hate to work, but won't anymore. I'll try, but he loves to call me a little woman. And not to be rough and wild, but I do my duty here instead of wanting to be somewhere else, said Joe, thinking that keeping her temper at home was much harder task than facing the rebel or two. Beth said nothing but wiped her tears with the blue army sock and began to knit with all her might. Losing no time in doing the duty that lay nearest to her, Miss March broke the silence and followed Joe's words by saying that her cheery voice, "Do you remember how you used to play Pilgrim Progress? Nothing delighted you more than to have me tie my piece bag to your back for burdens, give me your hat and sticks and roll of paper, and let you travel through the house from the cellar, which was the city of destruction, up to the housetop where you had all the lovely things you could collect to make the Kessel City. What fun it was, especially going to the by the lines, fighting Apollyon, and passing through the valley where the hobgoblins were," said Joe. "I like the place where the bundles fell off and tumbled downstairs," said Meg. "My favorite part was when we came out of the flat roof where our flowers and uproar where pretty things were, and all stood and sang for joy up there in the sunshine," said Beth. "If I wasn't too old for such things, I'd rather like to play it over again," said Amy, with began to talk, re-announcing childish things of the mature age of 12. "We never are too old for this, my dear, because it is a play we are playing all the time in our way of another. Our burdens are here, our road is before us, and longing for goodness and happiness is a guide that leads us through many troubles and mistakes to the peace which is true Kessel City. Now, my little pilgrims, suppose you begin again, not in the play, but in the earnest, to see how far you can get before the father comes home." "Really, Mother, where are our bundles?" asked Amy. "Each of you told what your burden was just now. Expect, Beth, I'd rather think she hasn't got any," said her mother. "Yes, I have. Mine is dishes and duster and envy girls with nice pianos and being afraid of people. Beth's bundle is such a funny one that everyone wanted to laugh, but nobody did, for it would have hurt her feeling very much. We were in a slow despond tonight, and Mother came to pull us out, as help did in the book. We ought to have our rule of directions with Christian. What shall we do about that?" asked Joe. "Look under your pillows Christmas morning, and you will find your guidebook," replied Miss March. And that is the end of chapter 1. We will continue on chapter 2 in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.